Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to put your connectors on the end of your wiring harness. So right now I've got a Datsun 280ZX turbo wiring harness, and this is the plug here for the airflow meter. So first of all, you're going to want to peel back the boot that covers it. This one's actually in pretty good shape. It's not all broken and cracked like most of them are. So before you start digging into this, you're going to want to label your wires before you start going. So I've got a little notepad here. I'm just going to make a really rough drawing because this is definitely not my area of expertise. So this connector has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've just numbered them 1 to 7 here, and then I'm going to draw this like this. And there's 2 little notches down at the bottom here where the connector slides in, and 3 at the top here. And this is looking at the back of the connector. So I'm just going to label it like that. So we've got pins 1, 2, 3, and 5. The first one is yellow with a black stripe. The second one is yellow with a red stripe. The third one's black. There's nothing in the fourth. The fifth one is yellow with a green stripe. Okay, so once you've done that, you can go ahead and cut the connectors, cut the wires off of the connector. So just my side cutters here. I'm going to leave a little bit of length there. That way I can extract the pins and save the connector if I want to. Probably won't, because we've got new connectors now, so there you go. If you leave a little bit on there, if you forgot to label them properly, you still have something to reference to. Just make sure you give yourself enough so that you can actually get the connector to the plug. I'm going to carefully cut back some of the original boot here. Be really careful. A pair of scissors would be better for this part. Okay, so we've got the old boot. This one's actually in really good shape, but we're going to take it off anyhow. Put a little piece of heat shrink here for later in case I need it. And then this is the new boot. Nice silicone boot. Slide that over the wires. It's a nice tight fit. That's going to help keep the water out. Just kind of peel that back there. And then you're going to want to strip your wires back. So this is the pin right here. Just kind of hold that up. You can see it's got, there's 2 sections to it. So this portion right here is where the wire connects to. And then this outside portion here is going to crimp around the actual insulator of the wire. So we'll take this first wire here and we'll strip off a section. So this wire, unfortunately for you guys, but fortunately for me, it's actually in really quite decent shape. Usually you'll find that depending on the condition of the vehicle that there'll be quite a bit of green oxide on there. So what I do is I separate each individual wire. I get a little piece of emery cloth. And then I just kind of fold it in half, and then I just pinch the cloth and pull it along the conductor. And then I rotate it a bit to get the other side of it. And that helps clean it up. Because this is a base metal, is copper, there's no plating on it, you're okay to use something fairly abrasive like a piece of emery cloth. You're not going to want to use 80 grit or 40 grit, but emery cloth is good for taking the oxide layer off. So once you've done that, you can, I kind of twist the wire a little bit so it's back to its original twist. You don't want to over twist it. Then you get the actual connector and you just slide it inside there. So you can see here that the conductor is exposed, and in the second half that'll get crimped on, and then the outside part will crimp around the insulation. So you can see here we've got some crimpers that have a see if we can get some contrast there. They kind of come up and then they have a little nipple that comes down and then back up, and that's what causes the two pieces of metal to fold in around the wire. So just crimp those guys on there. Now you don't need to use wire crimpers because they are a little expensive, but I do this all the time, so I use them quite frequently. So that gives you a nice crimp. You don't need to solder that. If you don't have wire crimpers, this is what I would do. I would do the exact same thing, but just get a pair of pliers and just squeeze around as best you can to make a good physical contact, and then solder the wires. So I've got my soldering stuff here. I use a little flux in a flux bottle with an applicator needle. That helps keep the mess down. You can get flux pens, that kind of thing. You just want a small drop, not a giant drop like I just put on there. You want to be careful when you're soldering not to have the solder flow up past the insulation. That just gives you another stress area for the solder. You want to keep it right down near the end. Make sure your tip's clean, and then get some solder on the actual tip. And then you can see that the solder's flowed just right up past that shoulder there, but not into the actual insulation. So once that's cooled off, you can crimp this outside. The reason I don't crimp them both at the same time is if you crimp where the insulation is and then you solder it, it won't have the same physical contact in there. But if you're just using pliers or whatever, then it's not a big deal. And that's it. It's crimped on. It's ready to go. So we'll do the rest of them now. So since these wires are pretty clean, there's not much cleanup to do here. Your mileage may vary depending on the condition, but this is actually quite important, this part, depending on the condition of your wires, to get them as clean as possible. Because the clean part is where your solder is going to stick and where it's going to conduct. And wherever there's oxide, you're not going to have any conduction. Or conductivity, sorry. Only oxide I know of that conducts is silver oxide. Okay. Go ahead and crimp these guys on. Since these wires are in good shape, I'm not going to solder them. But if I didn't have a crimper, then that would pretty much be my only option to solder them on. Okay, so now I just realized that after all my years of doing connectors and knowing better, I didn't put together properly. So let this be a lesson to everybody who's watching this. We forgot these little guys. These are the silicone boots that keep the water out. Fortunately, I have some extra pins, so I'm going to chop these guys off. As embarrassing as this is, but gotta do it properly, so So the way these guys work is the long narrow part goes this way. Actually, give us a little more room here. I never was in Boy Scouts, so I never learned the cut away from your thumb towards your chum. Okay, so silicone boots are actually quite snug, but that's good. That keeps the water out. Okay, so Now we're going to crimp on the pins. Make sure they're all on good. Okay. So now that we've got them crimped on, we take our connector and we simply pin them in. So we labeled these yellow to black. It's this guy. Yellow to red. It's that guy. Black. It's that guy. Nothing in number 4. And then yellow green, number 5. You just slide them in and you'll actually hear them physically click in place. You need to slide the silicone boot down. That'll fill up that hole and keep the water out. So then you'll just want to get something to slide each silicone boot down inside the hole. Just kind of work them back and forth. Don't want to rip them, so just kind of enough pressure to get them down. Just work them back and forth. Work your way around the wire so you get the boot in there, and that'll fill up any voids to keep water out of your connector. That's something the stock connector never had. Working that around. There you go. Now you've got a nice airflow meter connector. Has the squeeze release and nice silicone seal inside. Got a silicone seal on the back. We've got a silicone boot, rubber boot that comes over the back here. Keep any excess moisture out. And that's it. There you all done. Brand new connector, nice conductors inside, and you're good to go for another 25 years. No warranty expressed or implied.